On a warm summer afternoon in the sleepy town of Cedarville, North Carolina, 6-year-old Eli Thompson's laughter rang through the sprawling meadow where his family had gathered for a weekend picnic. Bright sunlight filtered through the towering pines, casting dancing shadows over the grassy field. Eli's mother, Sarah, sat on a checkered blanket, unpacking sandwiches and lemonade while keeping an eye on her energetic son. "Eli, stay close," Sarah called, her voice both loving and firm. But Eli's curious spirit could not be contained. His attention was caught by a yellow butterfly flitting just beyond the tree line, its delicate wings shimmering in the light. Without hesitation, Eli slipped away from the blanket, his small feet padding softly over the carpet of pine needles. The woods seemed inviting and mysterious, promising a world of adventure to a boy with wide eyes and an imagination running wild. He darted after the butterfly, weaving between trunks and under branches, unaware how quickly the trees would swallow him whole. Sarah glanced up, her heart tightening as she realized Eli was no longer in sight. "Eli," she called, voice trembling. No, the only answer was the rustling leaves. Panic surged through the Thompson family. Eli's father, Mark, dropped the cooler and scanned the tree line desperately. "Where is he?" Mark's voice cracked as he frantically shouted his son's name. Nearby, other families noticed the distress. A man quickly pulled out his phone and dialed 911. Volunteers and local deputies mobilized immediately, their faces grim and determined. Flashlights clicked on as teams prepared to comb the dense woods. But time was against them. The sun began its slow descent behind the hills, casting the forest into an eerie twilight. The wind whispered secrets through the branches, but no sound came from the lost boy. Meanwhile, across town in a quiet neighborhood not far from the park, a retired police canine named Valor sensed something was wrong. The German Shepherd, once a decorated police dog known for his unmatched tracking skills, was resting in his owner's backyard. Mike Reynolds, Valor's owner and a Cedarville firefighter, called out, "Come on, boy, time to come in." Valor's ears twitched, his sharp nose catching a strange scent on the breeze. Something in the air made him restless. Suddenly, the dog bolted through a gap in the fence Mike hadn't noticed before. "Valor, wait!" Mike shouted, but Valor was already sprinting toward the park, instincts pulling him forward with urgency. Unaware of Valor's escape, the search party spread out. Volunteers whispered worried prayers. Helicopters hovered overhead, their beams slicing through the growing darkness. As Valor entered the edge of the forest, his nose went to the ground. The scent was faint, a small child's scent mixed with fear and cold sweat. His paws crunched softly over twigs and leaves as he traced the trail, undeterred by the thick underbrush. Deeper into the woods, Eli sat slumped against a tree trunk. His little legs were scraped and bruised, and his thin shirt was damp with sweat. The butterfly was gone. Fear gripped him now, a cold shadow creeping into his chest. He called out weakly, "Mom? Dad?" But his voice was swallowed by the vastness of the forest. As darkness settled, Eli's body trembled from the chill. His eyelids fluttered closed, exhaustion pulling him under. But just yards away, Valor's keen eyes caught a glimpse of movement. A soft whine escaped the dog's throat. His powerful body moved closer, nose brushing against Eli's tangled hair. In that moment, hope arrived on 4 paws. The forest around Eli was darkening fast, the sun sinking behind the hills, leaving long shadows that twisted like silent specters between the trees. The boy's small body trembled uncontrollably, chilled to the bone by the falling temperature and the damp earth beneath him. His eyes were heavy with fatigue, but a flicker of hope ignited when he heard a faint sound, a low, gentle whine coming closer. Valor, the retired police canine, was already there, standing a few feet away. His amber eyes locked onto Eli's fragile form. The dog lowered himself slowly, careful not to frighten the lost child, and rested his large head gently on Eli's knee. The warmth of the dog's fur seeped through Eli's clothes, bringing a faint comfort. Eli managed a weak smile as Valor nudged him softly, encouraging movement. For a moment, the boy's fear faded. He felt safe, protected by this unexpected guardian, but Eli's body was too weak. When he tried to stand, his legs buckled beneath him, and he collapsed against the mossy forest floor. Valor let out a low growl, not threatening, but insistent, and an emotion that would later astound everyone. He grasped the strap of Eli's small backpack in his powerful jaws. The boy's eyes widened, surprise flickering even through his exhaustion. The dog began to drag him gently, pulling with all his strength, but careful to avoid causing pain. Each tug was measured, deliberate. The journey was slow, painful, but Valor refused to give up. The dog's instincts, honed from years of police training, told him this child's life depended on reaching help. Back in Cedarville, the search party was growing desperate. Flashlights swept every inch of the forest, radios crackling with updates and frustrations. The sheriff's deputy coordinated teams to widen the perimeter, but no trace of Eli was found. "Keep looking," the deputy urged. "He's still out there somewhere." Hours passed. The air grew colder and heavier. Then, just before dawn, a gas station clerk on the edge of town glanced out the window, blinking in disbelief. In the dim light, he saw a large German shepherd dragging something, or someone across the cracked pavement. The clerk reached for his phone and called 911 again. "There's a dog here, pulling a kid. I don't know how to explain it, but you have to come now." The dispatcher's voice was skeptical but urgent. "Stay on the line. Help is on the way." Meanwhile, Valor's relentless trek continued, through thickets and across dirt paths. The dog's paws were scraped and bleeding from the rough terrain, but his eyes never wavered. He crossed a shallow creek, water splashing against Eli's soaked clothes, and struggled up a muddy embankment, pulling the limp boy inch by inch. Eli's small hand weakly clung to Valor's collar as he was dragged. The warmth from the dog, the only thing keeping his spirit alive. As the first pale rays of sunlight pierced through the trees, Valor reached the edge of the forest and spotted the flicker of headlights approaching. Relief surged through the dog's body. At the hospital's emergency entrance, before the staff even opened the doors, Valor was already barking fiercely, scratching at the glass. When the night nurse, Jenny, rushed out, her eyes widened in shock. "What the hell? A dog? And a child?" She gasped. Valor dropped the backpack strap and backed away, circling protectively around Eli's body. Jenny scooped the boy into her arms, calling for an ambulance crew. "Get him inside, quickly." The hospital erupted into controlled chaos as doctors and nurses prepared for an emergency case no one expected. The emergency room at Cedarville General Hospital was never as chaotic as it became that early morning. Nurses rushed down the corridor, alarms sounded, and the buzz of urgent footsteps filled the air. But amid the storm of activity, all eyes were drawn to the unlikely pair standing outside the automatic doors. Valor, the fierce German shepherd, barking wildly and pawing at the glass, and Eli, cradled gently in Nurse Jenny's arms. "Is this the boy from the Amber Alert?" a doctor whispered, disbelief thick in his voice. Jenny nodded as she carried Eli inside, his tiny frame limp and pale. "We need trauma on this child, Stat." As Eli was whisked away on a stretcher, Valor followed closely, refusing to be left behind. The nurse at the front desk tried to shoo him back, but the dog's pleading eyes stopped her. Somehow, this dog was part of the rescue, part of the story, and everyone sensed it. Inside the trauma bay, doctors and nurses quickly assessed Eli's condition. His clothes were torn, dirt smeared his face, and his ankle was swollen and bruised. Early signs of hypothermia showed on his pale skin, but there were no signs of serious internal injuries. It was a miracle, considering the distance he must have traveled alone in the woods, that Dr. Lisa Hernandez, the IA's lead pediatrician, shook her head in disbelief. A child dragged for miles in the forest, and no major damage? This doesn't add up. Valor lay quietly nearby, eyes watching Eli's every movement. The dog's heavy breathing was steady but alert, as if guarding a precious secret. Then came the moment that left everyone speechless. As Eli slowly regained consciousness. He opened his eyes to find Valor's warm, intelligent gaze meeting his. With a faint smile, Eli reached out and gently stroked the dog's fur. "I heard sniffing," Eli whispered hoarsely. And then a nose, a warm nose. The room fell silent. Valor nudged Eli's hand, licking it softly, his presence calm and protective. Dr. Hernandez exchanged glances with her team. "There's more to this dog than just tracking. He kept the child alive." Medical experts studied the peculiar marks on Eli's skin. Slight abrasions, but no deep bruises. A neurologist noted the boy's alert mental state despite exhaustion. The dog's pacing and licking may have helped maintain circulation and kept hypothermia at bay, she explained. Outside the trauma bay, word was already spreading. News crews arrived, drawn by the incredible tale of a lost child saved by a retired police dog. The hospital lobby was flooded with reporters, their cameras trained on the entrance. Mark and Sarah Thompson, Eli's frantic parents, burst through the doors, tears streaming down their faces as they rushed toward their son's bedside. Their sobs of relief filled the room when they saw Eli awake and responsive, his fingers clutching Valor's collar. The reunion was raw, and powerful parents hugging their child, the dog gently licking their hands, as if sensing the gravity of the moment. But amidst the joy, a new question began to circulate. How did Valor find Eli? And why did he drag the boy to the A instead of the park or home? The answers came slowly, with the investigation revealing astonishing details about Valor's past. Once a star K9 with the Cedarville Police Department, Valor had been retired after a severe leg injury. His handler, Officer James Parker, had trained the dog for years, praising his extraordinary ability to track and rescue. Officer Parker arrived at the hospital, eyes gleaming with pride and disbelief. Valor has always had a sixth sense. He's more than a dog, he's a lifesaver. As reporters clamored for interviews, the story touched hearts across the country. Social media exploded with videos of the rescue, and tributes poured in for Valor, the dog who had done the impossible. But while the world marveled, Eli's recovery had only just begun, and the true depth of Valor's devotion was yet to be revealed. The emergency room at Cedarville General had barely settled from the initial shock when Valor's actions took an even more astonishing turn. As Eli was carefully wheeled inside the trauma bay, Valor didn't follow the usual path of a pet or service animal. He stood resolutely outside, barking and scratching at the automatic glass doors, refusing to leave his boy behind. Nurse Jenny crouched down beside the dog, trying to soothe him, but Valor's intense focus never wavered. It was as if he was trying to communicate something urgent beyond barking. The staff had seen many animals come through the hospital doors, but none behaved like this. This was something different. The EA staff quickly realized that Valor wasn't just a bystander. He had dragged Eli across rough terrain, saving him from the elements and danger. The sight of a dog fiercely protecting a child, even after the rescue, left many in the room in awe. Meanwhile, Eli's vital signs fluctuated. His temperature was dangerously low, and he was still unconscious. The trauma team worked swiftly to stabilize him fluids, to combat dehydration, warming blankets, and pain medication for his sprained ankle. Dr. Lisa Hernandez sat beside the boy's bed, watching Valor closely. "This dog," she said quietly to Nurse Jenny, "did something extraordinary. Not just tracking, but something deeper. He saved the child's life." Valor circled the bed once and settled at Eli's feet, his breathing slowing. The dog's eyes never left Eli's face. Outside, the hospital parking lot began to fill with news crews and curious onlookers. The story of a dog dragging a lost child to the EA had gone viral overnight. Reporters scrambled to get interviews. With Eli's family and Valor's owner. Sarah and Mark Thompson arrived, their faces etched with exhaustion and hope. When they saw Valor lying protectively next to their son, tears streamed down Sarah's cheeks. Thank you," she whispered, stroking the dog's fur. But the hospital staff's amazement grew as they examined Eli more closely. Despite being dragged miles through thorny woods and cold waters, he bore surprisingly few injuries. His sprained ankle was swollen but stable. His cuts were shallow and superficial. "It's a miracle," said Dr. Hernandez, shaking her head. "The way this child survived against all odds." Even more astonishing were the signs that Valor's presence had contributed to Eli's survival in ways the doctors couldn't immediately explain. A neurologist consulted on the case, explaining to the team that the dog's pacing, licking, and body warmth likely helped maintain Eli's blood flow and prevented hypothermia from worsening. The tactile stimulation from Valor kept the child's circulation going, she said. "It's an example of the incredible bond between humans and dogs." Meanwhile, the hospital's security footage revealed a startling image. A large German shepherd dragging a limp child across the gravel parking lot, ears back, determined and relentless. The footage was shared with the police and quickly aired on local news stations. Social media erupted with hashtags like #HeroDog and #ValorSaves. The town of Cedarville, already shaken by the ordeal, was now filled with admiration and gratitude for the dog who had become a symbol of hope. Valor's owner, Mike Reynolds, was overwhelmed by the attention. "He's a hero, but he's just doing what he's trained to do. That dog has a heart bigger than anyone I've ever known," Mike told reporters. As Eli's parents waited anxiously by the bedside, Valor lay quietly beside them, never straying. Far. Suddenly, Eli's eyelids fluttered. He opened his eyes, weak but aware. His gaze locked on Valor's, and for a moment, time seemed to freeze. "Dog," Eli whispered. Valor responded with a gentle lick to Eli's hand, as if to say, "I'm here." The doctors and nurses watched, stunned by the boy's quick recovery. This moment marked the beginning of an incredible bond, one that would capture the hearts of millions. But even as Eli began to regain strength, a deeper mystery lingered. How exactly had Valor found him? And what would come next in this unbelievable story? The sterile lights of the Cedarville General Hospital's emergency room cast a harsh glow on Eli's small, pale face as he lay resting. His breathing was steady now, but the questions swirling through the medical team were anything but simple. How did a 6-year-old survive being lost overnight in the woods, dragged across rough terrain, and exposed to cold without severe injury? Dr. Lisa Hernandez muttered, reviewing the charts. The attending neurologist, Dr. Henry Cole, adjusted his glasses and added, "The patterns of bruising are minimal. His alertness is remarkable given his condition. This is highly unusual." What left the doctors speechless was not just the boy's physical resilience, but the role of Valor, the retired K9 police dog, who had found and dragged Eli to the A. In an impromptu meeting. The trauma team discussed the medical findings. They noted how the dog's behavior, constant pacing, licking, and physical closeness may have actively helped regulate Eli's body temperature and blood circulation. protecting him from hypothermia and shock. It's rare, but tactile stimulation like this can have therapeutic effects, Dr. Cole explained. In human medicine, we use similar techniques, but to have a dog instinctively do this in the wild, it's astounding. Meanwhile, the media frenzy outside the hospital continued to build. Reporters flooded social media with videos and interviews, calling Valor the miracle dog. The hashtag Valor Saves was trending nationwide, with heartfelt messages pouring in from people touched by the story. Inside the hospital, Eli's parents Sarah and Mark Thompson struggled to process everything. They were overwhelmed with relief, but questions gnawed at them. How had Valor managed to find Eli in the vast, dark forest? Why had he dragged their son to the hospital instead of home? Mike Reynolds, Valor's owner and the firefighter who had trained the dog for years, was invited into the hospital to explain. Valor was part of the Cedarville Police K-9 unit, Mike said quietly, eyes glistening with pride. He's tracked and rescued lost people before, but after an injury, he was retired and came home with me. I never expected him to go off on his own like this. Officer James Parker, Valor's former handler, arrived shortly after, adding more pieces to the puzzle. Valor's instincts are extraordinary, Officer Parker said. He's trained to track scent, yes, but also to protect. He knows how to care for victims until help arrives. In this case, dragging Eli to the E wasn't just luck. Valor recognized that the hospital was the best place for immediate care. This revelation sparked new respect for Valor's intelligence and devotion. Back in the AO, Eli began to respond to questions. His memory was patchy but vivid. I remember ... Falling, Eli whispered. Then the dog came. He kept licking me and pulling me. Sarah reached out, tears streaming, as Eli's small hand grasped hers. Doctors were amazed at the boy's rapid progress. His sprained ankle, though swollen, showed signs of healing. His hypothermia was reversing, thanks in part to Valor's warmth. Dr. Hernandez remarked to the team. We often hear about dogs saving lives, but this is beyond heroic. Valor did more than rescue. He provided critical care instinctively. Across the country, animal behavior experts weighed in, praising Valor's actions as a rare example of canine empathy and intelligence. As the sun set outside the hospital, Eli rested peacefully. Valor curled protectively by his side. The town of Cedarville began planning a tribute, recognizing that this was more than a rescue story. It was a testament to the unbreakable bond between humans and their loyal dogs. But the biggest surprise was yet to come, one that would shake the community and leave the doctors truly speechless. By midday, Cedarville General Hospital had become a whirlwind of flashing cameras, buzzing reporters, and a flood of visitors. The story of Valor's heroic rescue and Eli's miraculous survival had captured hearts nationwide. News anchors broadcast live from the hospital's front entrance, and social media exploded with hashtags praising the brave dog. Inside the hospital, Eli's room was crowded with family and friends. His parents, Sarah and Mark, barely left his side, grateful for every small movement or flicker of recognition. Valor lay quietly at the foot of Eli's bed, alert and vigilant, seemingly aware of the chaos surrounding them, but focused entirely on the boy. As the media coverage intensified, a surprising visitor arrived. Senator Grace Hammond, a Cedarville native known for her advocacy of first responders and service animals. Dressed in a sharp navy blazer, she entered the room with a warm smile and a heartfelt message. Valor is a true American hero, Senator Hammond declared, her voice steady yet emotional. His courage and devotion exemplify everything we admire in our K-9 units and first responders. She announced plans to introduce a bill that would provide additional funding for retired police dogs and their care. Inspired by Valor's story, Outside the hospital, a crowd gathered, holding signs and cheering for Valor. Local businesses donated food and supplies, and a community fund was started to support search and rescue efforts across the region. Meanwhile, Eli's doctors continued to be amazed by his rapid recovery. Physical therapy sessions were planned to strengthen his ankle and muscles weakened by the ordeal. Despite everything, Eli was determined. "I want to get better," he said one afternoon, his voice steady. "I want to play outside again." The bond between Eli and Valor deepened daily. Nurses reported that Valor would nuzzle Eli awake in the mornings and rest his head on the boy's chest during scans or treatments, providing calm and comfort. One touching moment was captured by a hospital photographer. Candid shot of Eli stroking Valor's fur, both seeming to draw strength from each other. As the news cameras followed the family, Eli's parents shared their gratitude. "We don't know what would have happened if Valor hadn't found Eli," Sarah said tearfully. "He's more than a dog, he's family." Valor's owner, Mike Reynolds, was overwhelmed by the attention, but remained humble. "Valor was just doing what he was born to do," Mike told reporters. "He's a hero, but he's also a gentle friend." Officer James Parker, Valor's former K-9 handler, revealed behind-the-scenes details about Valor's training and history. "Valor saved dozens of lives during his career," he said. "He's not just a tracker, he's got a heart that won't quit." But the most emotional reunion was yet to come. One morning, the hospital staff prepared a surprise visit. Eli's favorite firefighters, including Mike Reynolds, came to see the boy. When Eli saw Mike and Valor together, his face lit up with pure joy. "Thank you, Valor," Eli whispered, tears in his eyes. The firefighters lifted Eli into a gentle embrace, surrounding him with warmth and love. This moment, broadcast live on local news, moved viewers across the nation, sparking donations and messages of support. Yet, even as the celebrations unfolded, questions lingered about the days ahead. How would Eli's life change after this terrifying experience? And what would become of Valor, the dog who had become a legend overnight? As Eli's recovery progressed, more pieces of Valor's incredible story began to emerge, deepening the awe surrounding the dog's heroic actions. The hospital staff, the media, and the town of Cedarville learned about Valor's remarkable past and have painted a picture of a dog whose loyalty and courage were nothing short of extraordinary. Valor hadn't always been a retired police dog enjoying a quiet life with firefighter Mike Reynolds. For nearly 6 years, he had served with distinction in the Cedarville Police Department's K-9 unit, specializing in search and rescue and tracking. Under the guidance of his first handler, Officer James Parker, Valor had been part of dozens of missions that saved lives, from locating lost hikers to finding victims trapped in natural disasters. Officer Parker recalled one rescue during a snowstorm where Valor braved near-freezing temperatures and treacherous conditions to find a stranded family. "He has an instinct that goes beyond training," Parker said. "Valor understands what it means to save a life." But after a severe injury to Valor's hind leg during a pursuit, the dog was retired early. Mike Reynolds, a longtime friend of Officer Parker and a Cedarville firefighter, adopted Valor, hoping to give him a peaceful retirement. "What I didn't know was that Valor still had that spark," Mike said. That drive to protect and help others hadn't faded. In a private moment at the hospital, Mike sat beside Valor, gently brushing his fur. "You're a hero, boy. You did something no one else could." Eli's parents, too, marveled at the bond their son shared with Valor. "Eli talks about the dog like he's a guardian angel," Sarah said. "He says Valor's nose was warm and soft, and that he felt safe." Doctors were equally amazed. Eli's resilience wasn't just physical, it was emotional. Psychologists working with Eli explained that the companionship and comfort Valor provided likely played a crucial role in easing the trauma of the ordeal. Beyond the hospital, the town of Cedarville embraced Valor as a local legend. The mayor announced plans to dedicate a statue in the town square, honoring the dog's bravery. Fundraisers were held to support retired Canine South and their caretakers. As Valor became a household name, his story inspired many. Schools invited Mike and Valor to speak to children about safety and respect for animals. Veterans and first responders saw Valor as a symbol of dedication and sacrifice. But perhaps the most touching moment came when Eli, now stronger and walking, with only a slight limp, visited the police station with his parents. He was given an honorary badge and a small canine vest, officially recognizing him as Valor's partner in survival. Eli's eyes sparkled as he looked up at the dog. "We're a team," he said with a grin. Officer Parker nodded solemnly. "You're both heroes." The story of Valor and Eli reminded everyone that heroism takes many forms, not just bravery in the face of danger, but love, loyalty, and the instinct to protect those who cannot protect themselves. And though Valor's days of chasing criminals were over, his mission had only changed form. He was now a living symbol of hope, resilience, and the extraordinary bond between a boy and his dog. Weeks passed, and Cedarville slowly returned to its quiet rhythm. But the story of Eli and Valor lingered in the hearts of everyone who had witnessed the miracle. The bond between boy and dog had blossomed into something powerful, a friendship that defied the terrifying night they had survived together. Eli's recovery was nothing short of remarkable. With each physical therapy session, he grew stronger, his laughter returning to brighten hospital halls and family gatherings alike. His parents marveled at his resilience, crediting Valor's unwavering presence for keeping their son's spirits alive. The hospital, moved by the story, extended an extraordinary honor. Valor was named an official therapy dog, invited to visit sick children in the pediatric ward. Every day, the once retired police dog trotted through corridors, wagging his tail and bringing comfort to children facing their own battles. Mike Reynolds, proud and humble, often accompanied Valor, sharing the dog's incredible story. Valor's mission never ended, Mike would say. He's still saving lives, just in a different way. Inspired by what Valor and Eli had endured, Sarah and Mark Thompson founded the Hope Paws Foundation, a non-profit dedicated to supporting retired police dogs and training new search and rescue Canine South. The foundation quickly gained traction, attracting donations from across the country. At the inaugural event, Eli stood beside Valor on a brightly decorated stage, holding a microphone. With a confident smile, he addressed the crowd. "We're here to make sure every dog like Valor gets a chance to help someone," he said, his voice clear and heartfelt. "And to remind everyone that heroes come in all shapes and sizes." The foundation's work brought together firefighters, police officers, veterinarians, and volunteers, all united by a common purpose. Valor's story inspired many to see dogs not just as pets, but as vital partners in saving lives. Meanwhile, the statue in Cedarville's town square was unveiled on a sunny autumn day. The bronze figure depicted Valor mid-stride, nose to the ground, pulling a small child behind him. A plaque read, "Valor, a hero who never gave up." The ceremony drew a crowd that included Eli's family, local officials, and citizens whose lives had been touched by the tale. As Eli placed a wreath at the statue's base, he whispered, "Thank you, Valor, for everything." In the years that followed, Valor continued his visits to the hospital, his gentle eyes comforting generations of children. Eli, now a young boy, with a heart full of gratitude, often joined him, reading stories and sharing quiet moments. Their story, captured in books and documentaries, became a beacon of hope, resilience, and the extraordinary bond between humans and their canine companions. For Valor, The journey that began with a desperate search through dark woods had transformed into a lifelong mission of love. Because sometimes the greatest heroes are the ones who pull us through the darkest nights and never let go.